This is December 3rd of the year 2024. We hope all of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And at this time, keep in mind these meetings are always televised live for our residents who cannot attend with us in person. So I'm going to ask Director Rigo to lead the invocation and Director Andre Good to lead in the pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. Please bow your head and join me in a prayer. Lord, we come before you humbly and so grateful this time of year for the blessing that the birth of your Son, Jesus Christ, is. And we're just grateful for the spirit that he brings to us this holiday season of peace and gratitude and all the wonderful feelings that happen and surround us at Christmas time. We love you, Lord. We're thankful for the opportunity to serve, and we pray in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Directors Rigo.
Here.
Good.
Here.
Morton.
Here.
George Katsavas.
Here.
Christina Katsavas.
Here.
Settle.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much. This time I'll ask if there's any board member that may have an item to be presented that's not already on the agenda for this
Yes,
evening.
sir. Very briefly.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a request of administration to look into and get us some information prior to the end of the year just about the possibility of a stop sign of some sort at Burnham and Duncan. I understand that the traffic volumes are not necessarily excessive on Burnham Road, but the speed perhaps is getting a little excessive. So if you could just look into that, I know myself and a lot of neighbors would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any others? Okay, thank you. This time we'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the November 19th meeting.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This time we do have a presentation. And at this time, Ms. Deanna Rice.
Hello.
Hi, Deanna.
How is everybody?
Doing well.
Good,
Thanks for being here.
Good. So I get to come every year and thank you guys, let you guys know how appreciative we are for the senior centers that we have in Fort Smith and for you all helping us with our program. It's a very needed program and we couldn't do it without the support of the city and the staff and everyone, that helps us. We love our seniors. We love what we do. And I couldn't imagine, not doing it. I feel like I have the perfect job and it's very near and dear to my heart, taking care of our elderly. And each year we just like to come with a Christmas card that's signed and bring y'all some little goodies to give to you. And we appreciate the heating and air that we are enjoying in our building. It's been really nice. And a new fire alarm system. I know that stuff is very costly and it's very appreciated. And I thank you all for, approving those items. I do want to remind everybody that we also assist with Medicare D, and this is open enrollment is going on. Saturday is the last day, so if you or someone you know that needs assistance reviewing their Medicare, please feel free to holler at me. I'm there till about 9 o'clock every night, and I'm there on Saturdays and have been since open enrollment started. And one of the things about us doing this program is we're not insurance salesmen or anything like that. So we do it as a nonprofit, and we're just simply aiding our seniors so they can trust us. We're not trying to push them to buy anything. We're just simply utilizing the government website, a tool that a lot of seniors cannot use. So just keep that in mind. It's important.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, and I have y'all a little something.
Deanna, we also want to thank you and your team for the great work you do with our senior citizens. It's a wonderful place.
Oh my God. Chocolate? Oh,
Chocolate.
oh my God. I'm on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also to all of you who attended the Christmas lighting at Creekmore Park yesterday. Beautiful, beautiful light display, and we want to tip our hats to the Parks Department and all of those who participated in putting up the lights for us. The kiddos had a wonderful, wonderful time riding the train. Again, thank you so much, Deanna, for being here.
Thanks for letting me come. I appreciate it.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go to item number 1 on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on of business on this evening's agenda is a public hearing and ordinance to close and vacate portions of Chad Colley Boulevard within the city of Fort Smith, and our Deputy City Administrator, Maggie Rice, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, the city is in receipt of a request from Arkansas Colleges of Health Education to abandon a portion of Chad Colley Boulevard located on the southwest side of the Chad Colley Boulevard and Frontier Road intersection. The area proposed for abandonment is an undeveloped portion of Chad Colley Boulevard. In response to the petition to abandon the right-of-way, staff contacted franchise utility companies and appropriate city departments relative to any ongoing or future interests they may have within these rights-of-way. AT&T and Cox requested a utility easement to accommodate the existing facilities as shown on the plat. Additionally, water utilities requested to maintain an existing easement within this area. Staff notified property owners within 300 feet of the requested right-of-way abandonment to inform them of the request and the public hearing date. The Board of Directors approved Resolution 211-24 on November 19th, which set the public hearing for tonight. And enclosed is an ordinance for your consideration if you wish to abandon the right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you very much. This time, we're going to formally open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any comments on this item?
We only have Bobby Aldridge here to answer questions.
Okay, thanks for being here, Bobby. With that, we will formally close the public hearing and entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to close and vacate portions of Chad Colley Boulevard within the city of Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board? Please call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
I abstain as I'm an employee of the Arkansas Colleges of Health Education.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
I also abstain as I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Arkansas Colleges of Health Education.
George Kitsavis.
Yes.
Christina Kitsavis.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
It's approved, 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 abstentions.
This time, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll.
Directors Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Abstain.
George Kitsavis.
Yes.
Christina Kitsavis.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Abstain.
Motion passes with 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 abstentions.
Okay, we'll go to item 2.
Thank you, Mayor. The second item of business on this evening's agenda is an ordinance rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map at 2300 Brooken Hill Drive. And again, our Deputy City Administrator Maggie Rice will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, on November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider rezoning property located at 2300 Brooken Hill Drive from a planned zoning district to a planned zoning district. The property contains approximately 1.5 acres and is located on the southwest corner of Brooken Hill Drive and Jenny Lynn Road. Approval of the PZD will allow for commercial development in a reduced land area than the previously approved PZD. The land use chart has been expanded to include doctor's office and clinic, as well as the other uses previously listed. 2 neighborhood meetings were held, one on November the 7th and one on November 8th. 4 neighboring property owners voiced their concerns regarding aesthetic, increased traffic, parking on Newland Road, and the proposed timeline for construction. At the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Jeffrey Holmes was present to represent the item. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 9 in favor with 0 opposed to recommend the zoning map be amended.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments?
None indicating.
This time we'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map for property located at 2300 Brooken Hill Drive.
Thank you. Are there any board comments? Director Levon Morton.
Okay, with respect to the 3 duplex lots that are included in this development, I mean, the development looks like a really
That's the
good
next
development.
item, Levon. That's the next item. This is just the, this
I'm
is just
sorry.
the,
I'm sorry.
is that right, Peggy?
That is correct.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question, Levon, so this is only the,
Okay,
this
so
is only the
just
pink
zoning.
area.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
very good. Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
yes,
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good. It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Thank you. Need a
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
This time we'll go to item 3.
Thank you, Mayor. The third item of business on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the master land use plan map and rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map at 2200 Brooken Hill and changing additional items at 9200 Jenny Lynn Road and also 2200, again, Broken Hill Drive. And Maggie Rice, our Deputy City Administrator for Planning and Development, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, on November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the subject master land use plan amendment and rezoning applications. The proposed master land use plan amendment to residential detached and residential attached and zone change to residential single-family medium density and residential single-family duplex low to medium density will facilitate a 15-lot single-family development with 3 duplexes on individual lots. 2 neighborhood meetings were held again on November 7th and November 8th. 4 neighboring property owners attended the meetings with concerns regarding aesthetics, increased traffic, parking on Newland Road, drainage, and construction time. At the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Jeffrey Holmes was present to represent these applications. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 9 in favor and 0 opposed to recommend the master land use plan map and zoning map be amended.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments on this item?
We only have Mr. Jeffrey Holmes to answer questions.
Okay, thanks for being here, Mr. Holmes. This time we'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance amending the master land use plan map and rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map, and this is for properties located at 2200 Brooken Hill Drive and 9200 Jenny Lind Road.
Okay, board comments?
Levon, you want to go to?
Director Levon Martin?
Yes, I'll start with what I started before on the wrong one. So with respect to these duplex units, there's no entrances from Jenny Lind as I read this map. Is that correct? There's no like driveway entrances.
There is no access from
They
Jenny
face
Lind.
Jenny Lind.
Yes, one of the conditions of approval was that they orient, the front facade is oriented towards Jenny Lind for continuity
Right.
of design.
And the access to these for cars is, it looks like a sort of an alley off of the new road that's going to be built in the interior of this development. An alleyway that does kind of an L into the back of these. And what I would say is, I mean, it generally is going to work fine for the people that live there. Now, when they have visitors, you know, I'm not sure where the visitors park. I mean, we have a development like this on Fairway Hamlet, which we've all heard a lot about, and people park on the street, and it's a fairly narrow street, and the people the people who live there, some park, especially one particular residence parks on the street, probably 24 hours a day for 5-6 days a week. And the entrance, the behind them, there's a garage for each unit, but the visitors park on the street. But in this area, there's nowhere to park on the street because Jenny Lind in that area is a divided road, and it's far too narrow to park and then actually get around. And as I read the commission minutes, there's a proposal that was agreed to put a no parking sign on Jenny Lind so no one would attempt to park there. So my only concern is really visitor parking for these 3 units, and they will have visitors, and I'd like to hear a solution to that.
Sure. And yes, you are correct that one of the requirements was that no parking signs be installed along Jenny Lind, and Jenny Lind is a residential collector divided, and so that met the requirements and was one of the conditions of approval. And Mr. Jeffrey Holmes is here, and he can address visitor parking in the rear.
To address your concerns, the layout for the duplexes have not been completed, but I believe they will have a garage and a drive. So the residents of the duplexes will park in the garage, and the open driveway would provide a location for people to park when visiting.
Okay, so how wide is the alleyway that's behind is it a one lane, or is it a 2-lane, or what's the status there?
It's currently set as a 14-foot wide. So you would be able to do 2-lane traffic, but
you can't park. You can't park on that alley.
You would end up blocking the path. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to vote yes on this, but I have a concern about that. I think that's going to be a problem at some point. And Brooken Hill, you can't park on Brooken Hill, and you can't park on Jenny Lind. So.
Right.
I've got a question if you don't want to move on.
Go ahead. I'm finished.
Thank you, sir. The biggest complaint I'm hearing is that the duplexes on Jenny Lind do not fit the neighborhood.
Okay.
Why didn't you put the duplexes in 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 next to the apartment complex and put single-family homes along Jenny Lind?
So part of the reason is that corner is a commercial development. So
but you got houses right there.
The duplexes will serve as a transition zone from single-family. Additionally, on the east side of Jenny Lind, there's a condominium section.
Yep.
That I believe the duplexes fit as a better case than with the apartment complexes, which is a large consolidated area.
I look at 6 is right next to PDZ, right next to commercial. Mm-hmm. 19 and 20 is across this new road.
6 is a lot larger unit. I don't know if you can pull that up for everyone to see.
Can you pull page 142? So my question is, would your client be willing to forego the duplexes on Jenny Lind?
That is not a current direction.
But you see the concern because it doesn't fit the aesthetics until the Vaughn's issue. Where are they going to park at?
Right. And they'll park in the rear with the homeowners.
But we have a neighborhood, I hate to talk about, has that, and they park on the street. So what guarantee is this going to happen besides the police go out there and write tickets?
Right.
So that's the reason I'm kind of asking, would your client be willing to forego the duplexes here, put houses there, and then go back and relook at 16, 17, 18, and 19, and put duplexes there, which fit more aesthetics next to the apartment complex? Because I don't know how many people would like to have their backyards facing an apartment complex and a single-family homes. Renters maybe, but not homeowners.
Again, the intent was to act as a transition zone, and if those are single-family lots, at least the 2 that are uphill are not relegated to keeping a driveway off of Jenny Lind per the current zoning. They don't need any type of variance. So they could have a driveway on Jenny Lind, which is omitted with the
I understand
duplex.
that, but I think from aesthetics point, the 1,600 houses in Fianna Hills would prefer that being homes instead of being duplexes. Because, this whole thing has been a stagger in these people's heads for 5 years, and it feels like this is just the last straw that the landowner wants to do, is put duplexes in the entryway to their homes that they've lived there for 20, 30 years. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to make a motion to try to amend it, to take it out. If it doesn't pass, it's fine. Sure. But I think for the board, there's other options here. Single-family houses would be more aesthetic than duplexes. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Neil Martin.
Maggie, who pays for the street? Is that the developer or is that the city?
The developer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Director Christina Casavage.
Can you remind me, how did the planning commission vote on this?
They voted 9 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to amend what's right, Mayor.
Okay. You recognize?
I'd like to make a motion to amend to remove the RSD2 out of this zoning, out of this ordinance.
Okay. We have an item to amend this.
I will second that so we can vote on it.
All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Directors Christina Katsavas,
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
No.
Good,
No.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Motion passes with 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
Okay. Thank you. This time we will, I'm sorry. Okay. This time we will, Madam Clerk, at this time, let us call the roll, and we're going to vote on this item as amended. Madam Clerk?
Director Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
No.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. This time we need a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
No.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
It's approved, 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Let's go to item 4.
Thank you, Mayor. The fourth item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the master land use plan map of the city of Fort Smith at 4111 Newland Road, and Maggie will speak to this and answer questions.
Yes, on November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the subject master land use plan amendment application. The proposed master land use plan amendment to residential attached will provide a correct classification on the existing residential single-family duplex medium to high density, or RSD3, zoning of the property. At the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Ron Brixey was present to represent the item. Ms. Nancy Wells of 5311 Fort Lane and Ms. Rosa Ramos of 4021 Newland Road spoke with concern regarding property value, density, and the potential for increased crime in the area. The Planning Commission voted 8 in favor with 1 opposed to recommend the master land use plan map be amended.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do have 2 individuals, the first being Glenn Paxton. Is that correct?
Mr. Paxton, you recognized.
I live at 5311 Fort Lane, and we would like to keep our neighborhood single-family. The driveway is going to be, where they're wanting to build these duplexes, is right across the street from OK Foods employee entrance. We already have congestion with Morrison School. They're backed up all the way, and like I said, we've lived there 40 years, and we'd like to keep our neighborhood single family if we can. The lots that they're wanting to build on, it's too small, and like I said, it would lead to problems, congestion, traffic, and
Okay.
I don't think it would benefit our neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Madam Clerk.
Next, we have Ashley, is it Foray? Foray?
Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of Nancy Wells, and she owns the property right east of the 4111 Newland Road. She owns 4121 Newland Road, and we're just concerned about them wanting to put 4 to 8 families on this lot that is less than an acre, when all the homes around there are single-family homes, and most of them have probably an acre or more a lot. And we have probably 8 or 9 different families right there. We're concerned about insurance going up, crime going up. It's already is, like he said, congested from OK Foods. Trustee School closed down, so all of those kids are now at Morrison, which has even caused more congestion that we're worried about. We have another family that lives right next to, or one lot over from where they're wanting to build the duplexes, and they have 4 little kids, and they're worried about crime going up. And we're, like I said, we're just concerned about them coming in and trying to put 4, 5, 6 families on less than an acre lot. When most of the houses around it, we all have area and land, and it just seems it's not. They're not very pretty. It doesn't seem like it would fit with our neighborhood. And so I also live down. There's a dead end road right there, and I live down the dead end road, and that is our concern too, as long as Greg's. And so, just on behalf of Nancy Wells, we're concerned about it, and we would just like to try to make sure it stayed single family. If not, the least, we could put on that lot, not 8 families on there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you
all right,
very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, were there any other comments?
That's all.
This time, we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
Well, I'm going to move that we do approve this, because this is nothing but a land use change. This is not a zoning change, and the Planning Commission did not approve the 4 condos. They rejected all those things, and this is nothing but a land use change, which, as I understand it, Maggie, is just the consistency with the surrounding property. Is that accurate?
Yes, the
So
land
this is
use change would be
this is
consistent with the
actually-
zoning. That's
This is
correct.
actually doing nothing. It's already zoned for duplexes.
Essentially, yes,
So
you're correct.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Need a second.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance amending the master land use plan map of the city of Fort Smith, and this is for property located at 4111 Newland Road.
Okay. Are there any other board comments? Director Settle and Director Neil Martin.
Thank you. Maggie, has the potential landowner given a plat of what the development would look like?
When they submitted a development plan, there were several items that were submitted with this one item, and they were all denied at the Planning Commission level, which is why you're not seeing them.
Okay.
And so the only thing that remains is the master land use plan amendment. But the zoning on the property currently allows duplexes.
I understand. So if we approve this tonight, will they have to come back in front of the Planning Commission to get approval for their site plan?
No. Because the zoning currently allows for duplexes.
So the current zoning is not zoned.
The current zoning is RSD3, residential single-family duplex, medium density.
Okay, detached, yeah, that's correct.
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. I'm good for now. I got a thought. I'm thinking through this.
Director Neil Martin.
Well, a couple things. A 6-inch water line and sewer line. That's smaller than what we typically have in a residential area. Is that correct?
I
thought it was an 8-inch line. I thought that was.
Yes, an 8-inch line can be required, but you have to remember that this zoning is an RSD3 zone, and what that means is that it does allow duplexes, but only 1 duplex per lot.
They're just wanting
So,
more.
Yes, they were, but they got denied.
Okay.
And so because of that, you can only put 1 structure per lot. And so if they were to put more than 1 duplex on this property, they would have to subdivide it.
Okay.
So they would have to submit a subdivision plat and meet the area and bulk requirements for that zoning district.
Okay.
So it's not just, they can't put a bunch of duplexes on there. It would be different if the property was zoned multifamily, which is what they had requested.
Okay.
But since it's zoned that single-family duplex, our code only allows for one structure per lot.
Well, and maybe it all comes together, but there were a number of decisions in this. I remember as I'm going through, there were a number of decisions. I couldn't figure out exactly what was what, but I did see that the Planning Commission was 9-0 in most items, 8-1 in another. But, and I saw the number of things were denied. But what really caught my attention was the staff recommendations. I've never seen this before. If the Planning Commission is inclined to approve this application, staff request it substantiate the reasoning for the approval. I've never heard that before, and I didn't know what that meant.
Well, that's not uncommon. We sometimes do.
That verbiage?
Yes. We sometimes do recommend in that way, in terms of if the Planning Commission is inclined, we would request that their reasons be noted. And in the staff comments above and the staff report above, we go into more detail and greater detail about the property. Okay. So in this instance, this property is zoned RSD3. The property immediately to the west of it is transitional special. It was the site of the OK Foods Healthcare Center. It's no longer there. That zoning is very restrictive. And then the property immediately to the west of that is zoned residential multifamily. This neighborhood several years ago went through a neighborhood rezoning. This is the Williams Lane Newland Springs Neighborhood Association. And they went through a neighborhood rezoning several years ago, and which is why when you look at the zoning map, there are a bunch of different zoning districts in this area, because not all of the property owners wanted their property rezoned. And this was one of the property owners that chose to opt out of that neighborhood rezoning, which is why it remains with that single-family duplex zoning.
So regardless of what we do, they can put a duplex on there tomorrow?
That's correct.
Just one?
Just one.
And if we approve this, they can just put one on there tomorrow?
Correct. If you deny it, they could still put one on there tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Director LeVon Morton.
So what are we accomplishing by approving this?
It's very rare that the board only sees a master land use plan amendment without a zoning request as well. And when you think of zoning documents and master land use plan, the master land use plan is really a policy document, and the zoning document is the regulatory side of it. So zoning is what dictates actual use of the property. And when somebody requests a zone change, we, staff, ensure that the master land use plan works with the zone that they've requested.
All we're trying to do is get it consistent with the zoning that's already there.
That's correct.
It's right now out of whack.
Yes.
Right. Okay, clear enough. We're just creating some consistency because we'll have to do that eventually.
That's correct.
Any other board comments?
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm with LeVon here. I don't understand what we're trying to accomplish here. I mean, to me, it'd be better off to kick it back. And then if you guys got a site development plan to the Planning Commission, you can ask for new zoning to match that. Because if you can only put one there now, you can put one there after tonight if we approve this, right?
Yes.
It's just bringing for consistency, the master land use plan is in line with zoning.
Yes, and that's what I think the Planning Commission was thinking when they approved the master land use plan without approving the zoning, is that the change in the master land use plan would be consistent with existing zoning.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board?
Was there a motion on the floor? Did it get a second?
Yes.
So we're voting on the motion?
Yes.
And the motion was?
To approve it.
To approve it.
To approve the ordinance amending the master land use plan map of the city of Fort Smith from residential detached to residential attached at 4111 Newland Road.
Okay. Item 4.
I got you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas,
Yes.
Settle,
No.
Martin.
Yes.
It's approved, 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
This time we'll entertain a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
No.
Martin,
No.
Rigo.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
Item 5.
Thank you, Mayor. The fifth item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance zoning identified property and amending the zoning map from not zoned to residential single-family high density at 11,601 Kuster Boulevard. And again, Maggie will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, on November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider zoning property located at 11601 Kuster Boulevard from not zoned to residential single-family high density, or RS4. The property contains approximately 40 acres and is located on the northwest corner of Taylor Avenue and Kuster. Approval of the item will facilitate the development of a 214-lot single-family subdivision. A neighborhood meeting was held on November 5th with no neighboring property owners in attendance. At the Planning Commission meeting, Ms. Michelle Dodro was present to represent the item. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 8 in favor with 0 opposed and 1 abstention to recommend the zoning map be amended.
Okay, thank you. Are there any citizens' comments on item 5?
We only have Michelle Dodro to answer questions, as well as Jenna Graves to answer questions.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. This time we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance.
It's an ordinance zoning identified property and amending the zoning map for property located at 11601 Kuster Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments from the board?
Mayor, I just have a quick question for Maggie.
Director
Maggie,
Success.
this is in the FCRA jurisdiction?
Yes, sir.
Now, is it policy that they approve these zoning changes first?
They have to approve the land sale, and they have control over the map. They have control over their own land use,
Right.
And their land use is consistent with the zoning. So their land use is single family. On
So
this
if
side.
if they denied this and this was appealed to the board and we approved it, then what happens?
If they denied the zone change, the city of Fort Smith has jurisdiction over the zoning. So they don't see the zone change. Only their land use, only the FCRA land use.
But what if they
change.
denied the land use for this, the FCRA?
Sure. If the FCRA had denied the land use or did deny the land use, then we would bring forth, the staff would bring forth a zoning ordinance that was contingent upon the FCRA
To the city of
changing.
to the city board?
Yes, to
Contingent.
this body, contingent upon the FCRA changing the land use so that we're not out of compliance with our memorandum of understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Director Settle.
Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, great development here. I hope that the owners consider making it a golf cart friendly neighborhood, since it is right next to a golf course. I think you'd have a lot of people that would be visitors from other countries that would love to have a place to park their golf cart, in a garage. Kind of see where I'm going with this. It's an opportunity to really put 215 new golfers at the golf course at Chaffee Crossing. So thank you very much.
Director Neil Martin.
Yeah, there's two really good, really large developments tonight, both from ERC. So I'm excited about seeing this growth. This is what we need. 214 houses is really great. So I'm excited about it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved?
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item 6.
Thank you, Mayor. The sixth item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the master land use plan map and rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map at 1801 Woring Avenue. Maggie will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, on November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the subject master land use plan amendment and rezoning applications. The property, containing an area of 0.23 acres, is located on the northeast corner of Woring Avenue and North 18th Street. The proposed master land use plan amendment to residential attached and zoning to residential single-family duplex medium to high density, or an RSD3 zone, will facilitate the construction of a duplex. A neighborhood meeting was held on October 29th with one neighboring property owner in support that was in attendance. At the Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Charles Hamilton was present to represent these applications. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 9 in favor with 0 opposed to recommend the Master Land Use Plan map and zoning map be amended.
Thank you. Are there any citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
None indicating.
Need a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules?
So moved with suspension of the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance amending the master land use plan map and rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map for property located at 1801 Woring Avenue.
Okay. Any board comments? Please call the roll.
Directors Christina Getsavis,
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis,
Yes.
Christina Getsavis.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item 7.
Thank you, Mayor. The seventh item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map at 8603 to 9001 Chad Colley Boulevard, 9201 through 9599 Mazard Road, and 9600 through 9700 Kuster Boulevard. And Maggie will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes. On November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider rezoning approximately 54 acres located east of Chad Colley, north of Mazard, and south of Kuster Boulevard. Approval of the item will allow a variety of housing types as well as commercial, retail, and offices within a mixed-use environment. The proposed PZD includes additional land uses such as convenience store with gasoline sales and restaurant with drive-through within the accompanying PZD project booklet. At the Planning Commission meeting, Ms. Michelle Dodro was present to represent this item. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 8 in favor with 0 opposed and 1 abstention to recommend the board amend the zoning map.
Okay. Thank you. Citizens' comments, Madam Clerk.
We have Michelle Dodro here to answer questions, but we also have Andy Postrick to speak.
Hi, thanks everybody. I'm a neighboring landowner. My house is about 1,200 feet away from this proposed development. I'm strongly in favor. I think it's going to enhance the neighborhood. Everything that these developers have put up has just been awesome, and I'm very excited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. This time, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved. Suspension of the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, read the ordinance.
An ordinance rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map for properties located at 8603 through 9001 Chad Colley Boulevard, 9201 through 9599 Mazard Road, and 9600 to 9700 Kuster Boulevard.
Okay, thank you. Board comments. Director Settle.
Maggie, have we seen a plat for this property development yet?
Yes, we have. There are several lots. They're working on finalizing 2 of those lots.
Whenever it gets done, could you send an email to the board? I'd just like to see it because we'll
Sure.
get questions. It's a great development.
Absolutely.
Just,
Yes,
you know,
we'll
just
be-
want
I'll
to
be
get it out
happy.
there because people are asking. So
Yep.
Sure,
good.
absolutely.
Thank you.
If there are no other board comments, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis, Christina Getsavis.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
This time, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis.
Yes.
Christina Getsavis.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item 8.
Thank you, Mayor. 8th item on this evening's agenda are items regarding the annexation of property, a petition of O'Reilly Automotive Stores, Inc. at 11,906 Old Highway 71, and Maggie will introduce both items.
Yes, O'Reilly Automotive Stores Incorporated has requested the City of Fort Smith consider annexation of property located at 11906 Old Highway 71. The proposed annexation is 1.033 acres. In accordance with Arkansas law, a petition for annexation was filed at the County Court of Sebastian County, Greenwood District. The petition was reviewed by the county clerk and county assessor. The county judge issued County Court Order number 2024-0160, recommending the petition be forwarded to the City of Fort Smith. The next step in the annexation process is for the board to consider the annexation requests. City staff has reviewed the proposed annexation and recommend the annexation contingent upon approval of the companion master land use plan map and zoning requests, which I will now review. On November 12th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the subject master land use plan amendment and rezoning applications. The proposed master land use plan amendment to general commercial and zoning to commercial moderate, or C3, will facilitate construction of a 7,450 square foot auto parts and accessory sales store on 1 acre. At the Planning Commission meeting, Ms. Amanda Johnson and Mr. Kip Williams were present to represent the items. There were none present to speak in favor or opposition. The Planning Commission voted 9 in favor with 0 opposed to recommend the master land use plan map and zoning map be amended. And as an additional note, Ordinance 8A, if you choose to adopt it, will need to be as revised to include the emergency clause. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any citizens' comments on item 8A?
We only have Mr. Kip Williams to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. This time we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved.
As
Suspension.
revised.
Second.
So
Point
moved.
of
Suspension
inquiry,
of rules.
is this just 8A or are these batched together?
8A, they're
We're gonna
ordinances
vote
separately.
Okay, again, we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules as revised to include emergency clause.
So moved with suspension of the rules as revised.
Second, and this is 8A only, right?
Correct.
8A only. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance accepting certain territory into the City of Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Okay, board comments? Director Neil Martin.
Maggie, so they came to us. What? And I don't know if you said it when you were introducing the item, but what's the advantage to them to come into the City of Fort Smith?
They can access sewer.
Sewer. That's the
Yes.
okay. Thank
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Please call the roll.
Directors Good,
you. Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Levon.
Okay.
Savon.
Directors Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
This time we'll go to B. Are there any comments on that, Madam Clerk?
None indicated.
Okay. This time we entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved with suspension of the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance amending the master land use plan map and rezoning identified property and amending the zoning map. And this is for property located at 11906 Old Highway 71.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Please call the roll.
Directors George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Entertain a motion to adopt the emergency clause.
So moved.
Yes. Second.
Please call the roll.
Directors Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Rigo.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you. Go to item 9.
Thank you, Mayor. The ninth item on this evening's agenda are items regarding camping in the city of Fort Smith related to the Grants Pass, Oregon ordinance that was approved by the United States Supreme Court.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Let me first ask if there are any citizens' comments.
We have one, Mr. Joey McCutcheon.
Joey McCutcheon, Fort Smith. I've got a wife who's a saint. She started a homeless shelter in Harrison. They built it from the ground up, she and 2 other women, and they house homeless women and children. And Harrison takes their homeless population very seriously. Tonight I would like to ask this board to form a committee, which, as many of you know, I'm against committees because I think it takes away your responsibility. But I'd like to see folks like Shirley McCutcheon, who has experience with the homeless population and knows what it is to be close to be homeless, and people like the Hargises at the Salvation Army, people at Hope Campus, people at the Next Step Day Room who feed our homeless population and have a huge heart, people like Stephanie Stippens, who passed away several years ago. I'd like to ask you to consider that. And I'd like to ask you to consider looking at what is the root cause of our homeless crisis in Fort Smith. Looking at from a Fort Smith issue, what has Fort Smith done wrong or right? But also looking at it from more than, many of these lawyers on this Supreme Court decisions that I have a great deal of respect for. But, looking at Grants Pass, Oregon, which I'm sure they do have a problem. Oregon has a big problem with drugs, crime, homeless population, probably for good reasons. Many of those that you've seen my comments on Facebook about a leftist city. But, we don't need to be looking, is it, and I would ask for a couple of more minutes, Mayor McGill.
I think your time is up without any comments from the board on that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. McCutcheon.
You won't give me, will somebody make a motion to give me a couple of more minutes to finish my comments?
I'm fine with it, Mayor.
I'm good with it.
Okay. That's just two. I need a majority. Let him go. I need a majority. Okay. Thank you very much.
So we got 2 out of 7 that won't give me time to talk about the homeless issue in Fort Smith.
Mr. McCutcheon, one thing I think Director Rigo is going to do is we're going to table this item. I believe, if I'm correct, we're going to table this item.
Yes.
And we're not going to be deciding it tonight.
Well, that's fine, but I would like a couple of more minutes to finish my comments here tonight.
I don't think there was support for that. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table items 9A, B, and C indefinitely pending some further feedback and work from our legal counsel.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion to table these items indefinitely. I have a motion second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Settle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Rigo?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Morton?
Yes.
George Gitsavis?
Yes.
Christina Gitsavis?
Yes.
Motion passes 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you. Mr. Kiffin, you recognize.
Thank you. Yes, there are, thank you for tabling these indefinitely. Our city attorney and our staff, especially neighborhood services, have been working on fitting Grants Pass into the city code of ordinances, and we'll be placing that on the 17th agenda.
Okay, so I want Mr. McCutcheon to hear that the 17th,
Yes.
we're planning on taking this up again. So you'll have an opportunity
17th.
at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 10 is an ordinance approving the transfer agreement and accepting donation and dedication of public roadway rights-of-way, Highway 255, Zero Street widening and relocation between Mazard Creek and Highway 22. And our Director of Engineering, Stan Snodgrass, will speak to this and answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gefkin. This item is related to the widening and realignment of Highway 255, also known as Zero Street between Mazard Creek and Highway 22, which is Rogers Avenue. As part of the project, approximately 500 feet of Wells Lake Road, which is currently a city street, is being realigned as shown on the attached location exhibit. That's page 297, which is up on the screen. The attached ordinance approves the transfer agreement from the Arkansas State Highway Commission to the city and accepts the ownership of the new right-of-way and the maintenance of this short section of realigned Wells Lake Road. With that, I'll be happy to entertain questions.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments?
None indicating.
Need a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance approving transfer agreement and accepting donation and dedication of public roadway rights-of-way, Highway 255, Zero Street widening and relocation between Mazard Creek and Highway 22, RDOT Job 040716, City Project Number 17-01-A.
Thank you. Any board member comments? Director Neil Martin.
So Stan, based on what we're seeing on the screen here, the new piece is what's highlighted in yellow. What happens with the remaining road that kind of goes to the south there?
It'll likely be abandoned.
Abandoned meaning
Yeah.
can't drive on it, can't do anything with it?
Well, the adjoining property owners, which will be A, will probably request abandonment on both sides, and it'll go through the process. There's likely some utility easements that have to be retained.
Okay.
So it'll go through the formal process, and it'll be reverted back to usable land.
Okay, thank you.
Director Settle.
Stan, is this the area they're constructing right now already?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's not open to traffic, but should be shortly.
And that will be the permanent new way to Wells Lake Road, right?
Yes, it essentially eliminates a very significant skew, and then it'll tee in directly with the realigned Frontier Road, which is 255.
Do we know when that Frontier Road's going to be opened up?
Completed and totally?
Or just right there in front of the apartments right there, Wells Lake, that whole area?
I think within the area by the apartments, probably within the next couple of months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Please call the roll.
Directors Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Need a motion to adopt the emergency clause?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas. Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item number 11.
Thank you, Mayor. The 11th item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the 2024 budget, and our CFO, Andy Richards, will speak to this and answer any questions.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next meeting. I don't feel like I've had sufficient time to go through the budget and go through each line item like I want. We just had the budget meeting, and I'd like a little more time to review it.
Second. But I have questions.
This is amending the 2024 budget.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Do you withdraw, or are you still?
This is the 2024 budget.
No, sorry, I was looking ahead, so I'll withdraw.
Okay.
I second that?
No need.
Yeah, she withdrew.
Okay. Are there any, go ahead, Annie, and are you finished? Okay. Any citizens' comments then?
None indicating.
Okay. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Board comments. Director Neil Martin.
So does this include the $3.8 million for the back arresting gear?
No, that's a subsequent ordinance coming up.
Okay, so that's not included in our projected 2024.
Not in the schedules attached to the resolution, that's right.
But it will be?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. The other thing, this, and I didn't see it until I kind of went through it and listened to some old meetings. When we had our CIP study session, the slides, we've had a lot of concern about water slides at Parrot Island. It was taken out of the parks budget when we went over the CIP. My understanding is it's back in coming out of the general fund.
No.
And is reflected here in our general fund amended, our projected 2024 budget. Is that true? Is that a correct statement? No. So the slides are still, because they're not in the CIP for parks.
That's correct. There'll still need to be an appropriation from the Board of Directors for the second funding.
The first round is in the 24 numbers.
The 2.1 million?
What you appropriated earlier in the year.
Okay, so it's reflected here?
Yes.
Okay, so what will come is another 2.1 million in 25.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, okay. And right now, the 25 CIP for parks does not have the slides in it. It's coming out of the general fund. So we're back to that.
That I'm not
Well,
certain
it's
of.
out of the park CIP.
It's not, it's
but
not, it's
not
out
there.
of the park CIP.
That is
right.
correct.
So the park CIP, the three projects that were there that were taken out of the park
Are
CIP
restored.
are now restored.
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas?
No.
Christina Katsavas?
No.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
No.
Rego.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor and 3 opposed.
Item 12.
Right now, I'd like to make a motion to table item 12
Second.
until the December 17th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you have a comment?
I do have a comment, but I think I want to amend what Director Katsavas has. You want me to go ahead and say that?
Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay, I will withdraw my motion.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we table this and do a continuing resolution to provide funding in 25 while we wait for the reallocation that we talked about in the budget meeting. So if you guys remember, we talked about the reallocation of dollars going from water, sewer, sanitation, those funds going into the general fund and funding part of the general fund. We talked about reallocating, having a reallocation to where less money was coming out of water, sewer, sanitation and going into the general fund. I feel like it's important for us to wait on that reallocation before we approve the 25 budget. And there's a number of there's a number of reasons why. One of those being our deficit in sanitation and a pending rate study that we need to be aware of. We've already talked about pending water rates. We know about potential sewer rates. People have been asking for additional funds staying in water and sewer and sanitation. So we talked about certain departments, namely us, city administration, others, being funded solely from the general fund. So there's a number of reasons why I think we need to postpone this, do a continuing resolution into 25, put some urgency around the reallocation discussion that you have, and then vote for the 2025 budget after the reallocation comes in.
But I think for sure we're voting to table from tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm just asking for continuing, not approving it until into the first quarter of 25.
By state law, you have to have a budget approved by February 1st. By state law, we have to have a budget approved by February 1st. That is state law. So I'm just telling you, you can't wait that long. State law, February 1st has to be approved.
Okay.
So, you can approve a budget and you can always amend a budget once it's approved. There's nothing to stop us. We can amend the 2024 budget with allocations if we want to. We can go next 2 weeks from now and amend the 2025 budget and redo the allocations at that point.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor to table. I'd like to call the vote on that.
Point of
need a
inquiry,
second.
what is the motion and is there a second?
Restate the motion.
Okay, I'm putting my motion back on the floor to table, and we can continue the discussion at the next meeting.
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with it.
Is that a motion and a second?
I'll second
Okay.
the motion to table.
We have a motion and a second to table this item until the next meeting.
Until the next meeting, but I just kind of want everybody to know where my thoughts are related to this. And if I would potentially be coming with another table on the 17th.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Yeah, any discussion?
I have a comment.
No, I don't think we have any discussion when there's a motion to table, right? We just vote on it?
We have discussion.
We still have a discussion. Any
Can we
comments
vote
on
on
it?
this? What do we, hold the vote or not?
I think you're right, Christina.
You can't vote. Wait, we can have discussion.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's look up Robert's rules. We've got quite a lengthy agenda tonight. We're going to have this discussion next week.
I just have a quick comment.
You recognize.
Sherry knows. Sherry knows. What is the proper protocol?
It is my understanding that a motion to table or postpone, it is not debatable.
We have a motion and a second to postpone it.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Yep, undebatable.
Directors Morton,
No.
George Katsavas,
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
No.
Martin,
Yes.
Rego,
No.
Good.
No.
Motion is defeated with 3 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay.
Motion to, I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 12.
Okay. We need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion and a second. This time, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Well, discussion?
We go to discussion. Director Levon Martin, you recognize.
Okay, so I would just say that when the new allocation numbers come in, it's very easy to make it retroactive to January 1st, at which time a new budget would be submitted, which would be reviewed by the board, and you'd get a chance to comment and say, we need to change this, or we need to change this, and do whatever you want to with the new allocations in place effective January 1, 25. Is that accurate, Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Director Neil Martin.
There's no guarantee that happens. I just want to, I think we need some urgency around the reallocation. And I think it's important that we do that. So that's where I am. That's where I stand on this. I think that's where the people want to see us, especially with water and sewer rates and potentially sanitation rates, which are staring us straight in the face. So I think that's important for us to do in this situation.
Director Levon Martin.
Well, for the record, I agree with Director Martin that there is some urgency around this, and I'm not finished, but I want to ask Mr. Richards, where do we stand on the allocation study?
My understanding is that they have the last piece of information that we've given them, the firm that's conducting the cost allocation study for us. And so I'm expecting a draft of that allocation soon. I'll call them tomorrow and make sure that they're
Okay, fair enough. And
quick they can respond and get it to us as fast as possible.
Well, in my own experience with this, and it's common in large corporations to have some kind of allocation like this. It's common in any corporation that has multiple divisions. It is important that management review it carefully to make sure they didn't get some inaccurate information in their allocation study. Make sure you understand what their assumptions were and that it makes sense, and maybe you might involve department heads too to make sure that the information they gave is accurate as well. So because things like IT and that sort of thing, critical components of an allocation of a large pool of costs, and it's important that the information be correct, and whatever the answer is, it is. So that's my comment on that. Thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
So, Andy, you made it sound like we're somewhat getting close. When we talked about this study session, maybe last study session, something like that, it was mentioned first quarter of 2025. And so are we feeling confident that they could legitimately have something to us in 24?
I can try. I could find out.
I'm not saying I'm not holding you accountable to them, but are they that far along?
I don't know exactly how far along they are. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we should be wrapping this up.
Okay.
But, we've given them information to compile and study and put together the methodology that we've agreed to.
Yep.
So once we get that back and we study that, I may have some questions, like Director Morton said, we may want to go check and make sure that what we've given them is accurate, and make sure that we get a good report, good numbers. And then, so we go back to them, I know it's December, and I know how firms work around this time of year, so sometimes it's difficult to schedule and get things updated, but, I'll stress the importance of, getting these allocation numbers in front of you.
Sure.
And see what we can do.
Sure. Well, I have a feeling how this vote's going to go, but I think that it's incumbent on everybody to do this as quickly as possible.
I agree.
Director Kevin Settle.
Andy, would it be the right option to say that we could have this to us the first study session in January with the holidays, and you guys had an opportunity to decide it? If we put that on the agenda, would that kind of speed the process up?
I really don't know. Really don't know for sure. I need to talk to them first. I don't want to overcommit.
Okay, thank you.
But I would like to be able to do that, yes.
Director Levon Morton.
Well, and I would say I share the concerns about the landfill deficit. I think I was the first one to raise a question about it. But, there's a lot of capital expenditures in the landfill, and I raised that before, and it looks exactly the same as it did the first time we saw it. So I would urge the administration to take a hard look at that, and what I said in the first budget discussion was, for 25, it makes sense to buy what we have to have to get through 25, to figure out where we're going to be financially at that point, rather than go into the year assuming that everything's going to be smooth and easy like it's been really since 2021, when we started getting government money and huge sales tax collections. I just don't think we can make that assumption in 25. And I also say the study of the landfill revenue is just as critical, probably more critical, than the allocation of costs, because the allocation of costs, you're taking the same numbers and just moving them around to different categories. The landfill allocation affects revenue, because I don't think we're charging outside customers, particularly the ones that bring in light, bulky materials that fill up a lot of space and are very difficult to deal with. We're not charging them, I don't think, enough money for all the things that go into that, which are hard for our equipment to process and just a lot of work. And we really need that study quickly. That's my comment.
Thank you. Director Christina Castavas, and then Director Neil Martin.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, question. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
If I could, Director Rigo, your motion was to adopt. Could I have you include suspension of the rules with that, please?
Sure thing.
Okay.
And I second, or do I second?
Director Good was the second.
Okay, thank you.
So we're voting on item 12.
Yes.
Item 12. And I do need to read that ordinance first.
Please do.
An ordinance to adopt the fiscal year 2025 operating budget and to provide other matters relating thereto.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors George Katsavas?
No.
Christina Katsavas?
No.
Settle?
Yes.
Martin?
No.
Rigo?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Morton?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, but with 4 in favor, 3 opposed, and with that, because it was with suspension of the rules, it does require 5 affirmative votes, so I will need to read that ordinance in its entirety.
Tonight?
5 affirmative votes.
Yes,
Tonight?
to suspend with the reading.
We're going to need a break there.
Okay. Now let's finish.
All right.
I'd like to
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah, we can.
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
second.
Second.
We need 5.
We need 5.
Third.
Okay. Who was the second?
Me.
Rigo.
Me, not me. I mean, Tom third.
Christina Katsavas, George
Dealer's
Katsavas,
choice.
Levon Morton.
Okay.
That's 5?
Let me call the roll.
Okay.
Directors Christina Katsavas?
To suspend the reading.
Correct.
Yes.
Settle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Rigo?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Morton?
Yes.
George Katsavas?
Yes.
Motion passes 5 in favor and
Thank
0
God.
opposed.
Man.
Okay. So, we'll go to item 13.
Thank you, Mayor. The 13th item on this evening's agenda are the resolutions to approve the capital improvement plans for 2025 only. There are
10.
Can we vote on
10
them
of them,
collectively?
and they can be taken collectively.
Well, let's do it.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on item 13 on block, the 10 items collectively.
Second.
Okay. Item has been introduced. These are capital improvement plans. Are there any citizens' comments on this item?
Yes, on 13J, we have Jerry Donaldson.
Thank you. I appreciate this board and all the work you do. Since it's Thanksgiving season, I want to be thankful tonight. I want to thank, first of all, there was a solid waste driver today, and he took very considerate respect for me as we were backing down the driveway, and it was noticeable. And I thank the solid waste operators in our city for the work they do as well. Also want to thank the folks who are responsible for good drinking water and for the wastewater operators, people we don't typically we typically take for granted, I for one. And the landfill, you mentioned the landfill, that's a resource, and we tend to think of it as just, you know, it's an advantage that Fort Smith has. They're rare, and they're hard to find, they're hard to develop, and they cost a lot of money, you know that. Okay, so well, another thing I'm thankful for is the board listens. That doesn't mean it's kind of like a family. Do all your family members listen to you? No, not necessarily, you know, but you hope they do. You hope that there's that ability to open our ears and look at things from someone else's perspective. And I think this board does it. There are boards in town that don't listen, and so you're a good example that way. Let's see, the last couple things I want to say is that in terms of the allocations, I witnessed the capital improvement plan with regard to the wastewater and consent decree. And I looked at the numbers that was in the plan for 22, 23, 24. Regarding 25, and I see the numbers increased from 19 million, 16 million, and up to a planned 56 million for 2025 spending. 33 of that's funded. And I think that's because you folks are listening, and I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
That's all.
Okay. This time we'll entertain a motion to adopt items 13A through 13J.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Director LaVon.
Okay, so I have some questions for Mr. Richards, Andy Richards, on some of the items that relate to this whole thing, and some of them do flow over into the capital plan. But they're relevant information with respect to the entire budget that we all need to know. And while he's coming up here, I will say that, you know, if we buy the forklift for, I've said this before, if we buy the forklift for the landfill, look at giving the other forklift to the fire department so they don't have to buy one. So it's important that we spend all the ARPA money by December 31st, 24, which is 28 days away. Have we done that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We filed a quarterly report as of September 30, and it reflected that we had spent all the funds by that time.
Right, because if we hadn't spent the money or obligated, we'd have to give it back. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have the balance in the bond fund account for utilities?
The bond fund, no, we just paid the maturities on December 1st. So at that point, after that, we've got $5.7 million in the actual bond funds.
Okay, now, I was referring to the bond fund cash we can use for construction, so that kind of a different question.
The bond proceeds? We have $29.2 million.
Okay, but that's probably fully obligated, if I had to guess about it. So do you know the balance in the unobligated sales tax, or the unobligated balance in the sales tax fund at this point?
We've got about $32 million in there. I think
Probably mostly
I think
obligated.
29 million or so has been obligated.
Okay, and
So we're
finally,
probably at 2.5 million or so of unobligated at this point.
okay, so, and are we making in the landfill budget, are we making all the deposits that we normally make into the sinking fund capital account and the cell replacement units? Cell
Right.
closing fund?
All the general fund transfers that were appropriated they get transferred on a quarterly basis. So
From the sanitation to?
right,
Yeah,
from the
okay.
operating fund. Not general
Okay,
fund.
okay, so we're fully funding, we're not cutting anything short?
No.
Okay, so what do you, at this point, forecast the bond ratios to be for 2024, the debt coverage ratios for 2024 and the budget, based on the budget numbers for 25, if you have those numbers?
What I calculated off our projected 24 numbers that were in those schedules, the debt service coverage ratio I estimated to be 69%. Whoa. And for 2025, the operate off those schedules, I calculate 81%.
Okay.
We've talked about at the budget hearing, we've talked about, I think, those projections are based upon numbers that we arrived at, back in September when we were putting the budget together. So I think what we've seen the last couple of months is we're doing a little better on revenues than what we had hoped. I think.
Could you repeat those numbers? Those weren't the numbers I recalled from the budget hearing.
Yeah, so, well, that's true, because, I think that what I remember is that we were at 88% at the end of September, and if you threw in October.
Right. That's right. We had the October, it was a monthly statement that we put out, so that was updated through October. But that's a little bit different calculation than what we have here for the year, but estimate that was at 0.88.
Okay.
88% for 24, based on through October.
That was through October.
Right.
Or through September, actually.
Yeah. But that is a little bit different estimation process where we go through October 31 and we annualize those numbers to come up with that to get close. So, like I said, I think and I think that makes sense because these revenue projections that we arrived at were done early September. So, like I said, I think the last couple of months we've seen better results than what we had planned
So you're
on.
basically saying the revenue projections are old. What you just
They're
gave
a
us.
couple months old.
Okay, all right. So 88%.
But I don't know how we're going to do in December. Weather impacts all those type of
Well,
things. But we've had good weather experience, I think. As far as
the
water
rate
sales.
the rate increase at September was $1 million extra.
And also October, we had about the same revenue. Yeah.
October was good. We look at the March number; it's about $850,000. We're going to hit it. I think we're going to hit over 110%.
I think we're going to be close. I mean, I'm surprised at these numbers, and I'd have to see the calculation, see how I felt about it. But I don't want to belabor it because it's going to be a long meeting. But I thought we'd get something. I mean, this does bring it to the. It's important that we see those calculations and how you did that for the next meeting. So let's have a little short handout for everyone for the 17th so we can understand that. It doesn't change what we're doing tonight, but it's important that we kind of know where we stand right now. So anyway, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? We do have a motion to adopt items 13A through 13J. If there are no further comments, please call the roll.
Directors Martin,
I'm voting no on all because I was going to vote no on some, so it's a no on all.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
No.
Christina Katsavas.
No.
Settle.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor and 3 opposed.
Okay. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor.
Question, is this what about the rules on this? Is it different than the regular budget, Sherry?
They're resolutions.
Oh, resolution. Okay, very good.
I'm sorry, do what?
Well, I was asking if we had to do the same vote on reading the whole thing. 'Cause
Only on an ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm told him no. Okay.
The 14th item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance establishing a utility advisory committee as a standing committee to research, review, and investigate issues regarding water and wastewater utilities and make recommendations regarding such utilities to the Board of Directors of the City of Fort Smith. And I will ask our Deputy City Administrator to speak to this, Jeff Dingman.
Thank you, Mr. Gefkin. At the study session on September 24th, the board discussed the idea of creating a utility advisory committee. Such discussion resulted in concurrence that such a committee should consist of a mixture of board members and members of the general public. An ordinance specifying such was defeated at the October 8th regular meeting. Subsequently, Directors Morton and Rigo asked that a modified version of the previous ordinance be placed on this agenda. The modification being that the ordinance now proposes an all-citizen committee with no board members appointed, and all committee members may come from any part of the city. And that ordinance is presented before you tonight, and I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any citizens' comments on this, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we have two individuals, the first being Kim Fodge.
Good evening. I just want to say I really don't think that it's necessary for this committee. These are all things that the directors should be doing, the director of the department should be doing, and then presenting that information to you guys. There's an opportunity for things to get missed and not given to you guys. We've already witnessed that previously with the water rates, with things getting muddied with what was told to you and what was presented and all that stuff. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for loss of accountability. If the committee misses something, doesn't give you guys the information that you need, who's going to be held responsible if something happens that affects us in a negative manner? So I'm against this committee. I think it's up to the Board of Directors and the Director of the Water Department to do this. And if he's not able to do that, then we need to get somebody who can. Thank you.
Thank you.
God, these people are stupid.
Next, we have Joey McCutcheon.
I agree with Ms. Fodge. I think it's an indictment to this board when you read Mr. Gefkin's ordinance. This is an ordinance, not a resolution that we've been seeing all night. This is law. We're putting it in our ordinance. When it says, whereas such utility issues require additional research, investigation, and study above and beyond what the Board of Directors itself can provide at its regular meetings or at its study session discussions. That's what we elect the board for. I don't elect committees. This has been a problem in this city. We pawn things off to committees. They come up with these wonderful ideas like move Fort Smith, and then the next thing you know, we're passing an ordinance. That's just wrong. I understand that Levon Morton, on this issue, he is unbelievable. He has more knowledge than anyone in the city, and he needs to contribute. But to place accountability in an unelected committee, in my opinion, is just wrong. That's what we elect a board for, and that's why we pay these huge salaries that we're seeing. That's why we give huge buyouts if we terminate someone for not doing their job. This is the job of Carl Gefkin, to do this research, to do the investigation. That's what he was hired for 7 years ago, or in 2016. So to pawn this off on a citizen committee, as much as the idea sounds great, let's put it off on 7 citizens, and let's not have equity, because the first round of this had our leftist equity in it. It had, we're going to have this many from this ward, and no, just put, if you're going to do it, put the best qualified. Put the people who know the most about it, not based upon skin color, not based upon whether they're rich or poor, but on merit. That's what we should do. That's what we should do as a city. Base things on merit. But this is just another example of the board not doing their job. And the board does do a good job on many issues, and you work very hard. I see that. But these committees, these unelected committees, in my opinion, are just wrong.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance with suspension of the rules.
So moved, with suspension of the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance establishing a utility advisory committee as a standing committee to research, review, and investigate issues regarding water and wastewater utilities and make recommendations regarding such utilities to the Board of Directors of the City of Fort Smith.
This time we'll take board member comments. Director Levon Morton and then Director Rigo.
Okay, this is the third or fourth time I've talked about this. You know, I plan to volunteer for this committee, and I pledge that I'll work really hard to come up with something useful in the first year. And if we don't, I will recommend to the rest of the committee, and whoever's the chair can recommend to the board that we dissolve the committee as ineffective. I think that is responsive to what we're hearing from the citizens. They think it's going to be ineffective. The committee will have no power to actually adopt anything, since it's like most all committees, really. This one is really to gather information and potentially come up with some new ideas on how to do things. You know, it seems to me we've been doing the same thing over and over again for years and years and years. And I think Einstein said doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So I want to do something a little different. I want to try to devote a considerable amount of time, and we'll get some people who are really experts in certain areas, and try to come up with some ideas to help. If it doesn't work, again, we'll dissolve it after a year, but I'd like to have a chance to try it.
Okay, thank you. Director Rigo.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say a couple things really briefly in the interest of time. I think that there's certainly no harm, institutional or otherwise, in trying this approach. And I think that it's important to remember that when the issue of accountability is mentioned, accountability is not something that we can choose to outsource or offload. Accountability is, was, and always will be something that remains with the members of the public. And so they will, if this passes this evening and it's attempted, they will, of course, obviously remain engaged and pay attention and share the feedback with us. But I don't see how involving more citizens is something that damages our accountability to citizens. Thank you.
Director Settle.
So the ordinance is written that anybody in the city of Fort Smith can apply?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to be.
Regardless of where they're at, where they live, anybody can apply?
Correct.
Oh, there's a lot of people applying. Director Morton, I'm glad you're going to be on the team. I hope you apply and hope we can put you on the team because I think you'd be a good advocate for this.
Well, I plan to do that. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Make a motion, call a question. I know how the vote's going to go.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, or when the question is called, the question has to have a second offered, and then there is a vote taken on calling the question, which requires 5 of us to vote affirmatively on, and calling the question terminates debate. I would respectfully suggest that if debate has naturally concluded, we should just move to the vote on the underlying issue.
Okay. Debate is concluded, right. So let's just vote on the item. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
No.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
I didn't know how I was going to go. No.
Motion passes 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
Thank you. This time we're going to take a
Oh, thank God.
7-minute break.
We'll make it 10 minutes, Mayor.
Make it 10 minutes at the request of Director George Katsavas.
Prostate checked out. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're going to return to the agenda. Thanks for your patience. We'll go to item number 15.
Thank you, Mayor. The 15th item on this evening's agenda is a resolution regarding transaction and processing fees for city service fees or other transactions paid by city credit card or debit card. And our Director of Water Utilities, Lance McAvoy, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, during the budget meeting on November 22nd, this was discussed and asked to be put on the agenda for tonight. This actually will cover two different things. This will cover pay it, any credit card or debit card transaction used for pay it, but also any other transaction fees such as at solid waste, where an industry may use a credit card to pay a large bill, and at current time, is my understanding from our former solid waste director that the city was eating those credit card fees as well. And sometimes when you have a $100,000 bill that's being paid by credit card, that racks up very quickly. So the ordinance before you, or the resolution before you would just basically change that all credit card fees or debit card fees are processed the same way, will be passed on to the customer. And that is compliant with Arkansas State Law, Section 14-59-119B2. I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments on this item?
I had a question.
Let's get citizens. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments on item 15?
None indicating.
Okay, this time we entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll entertain board comments. Director Christina Casavage, you recognize.
So we spent, was it close to $900,000 last year on these fees, which caused us to miss our debt coverage. If we are not incurring these fees anymore, what will that do to our debt coverage ratio?
So that should increase our debt coverage ratio in 25.
Because, I mean, we budgeted 1.35.
So
was it?
talking with, and that is actually budgeted in the Citizen Services Group, 5520. And I was speaking with Joshua Robertson, who's over that group. That also covers the ACH fees that we are going to continue to cover. But what we plan on doing jointly is, because this would go into effect on March 1st, we would receive our last bill from Pay It in March and bring a budget adjustment to remove that from the 5520, so that then goes back into the unallocated funding for water utilities, and that should increase, because then you're taking a budgeted amount and saying, nope, we don't need that, we're turning that back into unallocated funds. That helps because we're not spending as much. So it will have a positive impact on our debt service ratio.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Go ahead, Neil.
Director Neil Martin.
So I was originally against this, and voted to the city to absorb it. I'm kind of inclined to lean that way as it is today, because the citizens are obviously getting hit by, water rate increases, potential sewer rate increases, potential sanitation rate increases. However, I do believe there are alternatives to where citizens don't have to pay a fee. And I believe they can do that if they pay through their bank. Is that correct?
If their bank does not charge a fee.
If their bank does not charge a fee for them to make online payments through their bank, that eliminates a cost associated with the customer. You still mail a check. You can still drop it off at a drop box at various locations around the city, or come downtown and pay it. I'm not real wild about incurring more fees for folks, but if there are alternatives that are free, I'm okay with moving forward on this. So that's just where I'm at.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the board? Director George Casavas.
I read through that. Was it an 8% fee on the credit card?
No, it is an 80 cent.
80 cent, I'm sorry.
80 cent plus 2.5%.
2.5% of what?
Of the balance. So if it was $100, you'd pay, I believe it's $2.50.
Plus 80
Plus the 80 cents.
Plus the 80 cents, plus $2.50 on a $100 balance. Okay, all right, thank you.
And I will say that ACH is that we are going to be charged is a flat $2.05 fee.
That we will remain to incur.
Yes, we will incur that, but that is regardless of if it was a $50 balance or a $50,000 balance. If they use ACH, we will only be charged $2.05.
So if somebody mails in a check, they're not charged the 2.5%?
They're not charged anything because under state law, a check is the same as cash. It is not considered there's no convenience fee associated with a check.
And so you're saying if the board does approve this, then that will get us to 110% bond?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it will get us closer. It will head us in the proper direction.
Well, I thought we were close now with the increase
How much did we miss our debt coverage by for?
2%.
2%.
I know, but like a dollar amount.
400,000.
Andy, was that the right? How much?
We missed about 400,000 last year.
So if we weren't paying these credit card fees, which were almost 900,000, we wouldn't have missed our debt coverage and had to raise rates.
$400,000 will equal 1% on the debt service coverage.
2%. 20 million. 20 million.
Yep.
2%.
110%. So.
Yeah. 2%. And last year we were at 1.08. The 400,000 came from. We were at 1.08. If we'd had 400,000 less expense or more revenue, we would have been at 1.10. Because the debt service is about $20 million. So 1% of 20 million is 200,000. That's where that comes
from. So the 900, if we save 900,000, that's 4.5 percentage points towards the debt service coverage number.
Okay, one more question on this. What other towns are doing this?
Passing on the credit card fees? Yeah. Springdale, Fayetteville, it is state law. The state does it, the county, it's Greenwood, it is state law, so cities that accrue a fee, it is called a convenience fee, pass that on to the customers. It's no different than paying OG&E or AOG. We pay a small fee to pay online to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
So we were by absorbing these credit card fees, the city of Fort Smith was in violation of the law.
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
But can I comment on that? What the law says, if you read the last part of it, it says, unless the city, or unless the entity, the city, concludes that the fees are already included in the charges. So there, that you could argue gray, and that's what this came up when we said the first time that we're going to absorb these fees. That there is a position out there that we're already including that, but that's not a very strong position, especially not strong after you do a water rate study. It begins to fall apart at that point. We didn't have that in the first case.
Any other, Director Settle?
Thank you. Like Neil, I was one that was against this, but I've changed and saw what's happened the past year. You go any place now, restaurants, basketball gyms. Yes, last night I paid $5 for some food items, and it was $5.11. So I think what's going to happen is some people will pay credit card. Some people will pay check, some will go cash, but most people will pay the convenience fee off their credit card because they're getting points, especially the big businesses. Here, the $100,000 sanitation bill, and we're absorbing, 2.5% plus 80 cents. And that company's getting a benefit off of it. So, I think that we're going to see a quick dip in credit card usage, and then they'll go back, and we'll be back normal, and there will be a big savings, and we'll be able to put this back in our fund, so
Okay.
I think it's a good thing.
Any other comments or questions?
Oh, make sure we do get a good campaign for letting notifying people. That's the reason I made this March 1st, so it gives us plenty of time to put it in effect.
We will be discussing this with Josh come tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, the 80% is, there's no dollar amount on that. It could,
80 cents.
no matter if it's $5 or 500,000.
Correct.
There's no escalating scale.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Good,
Yes. Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavas.
No.
Christina Katsavas,
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rego.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Item 16.
Thank you, Mayor. 16th item on this evening's agenda are items regarding additional professional services for the water rate study, and there are 2 items. One, ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds, and a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute agreement number 4 to provide additional professional services. And Lance McAvoy will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes. Hopefully this will be the last amendment to the contract that we bring, considering it's towards the end of the year. Basically, why we are bringing an amendment is back in October, you'll remember the board October, November, requested additional information to be processed by our consultant. And we did that with the remaining funds, and we still owe them. We have not received November's bill yet, but we know that we will not have sufficient funds to cover that, and we were unaware if the board would have any additional requests through the month of December. This is a not to exceed amount, and as of the end of December, if there are no more charges, we will actually terminate the agreement for whatever's left on it. Any additional work on future rates will come as a new contract or professional agreement to the board for their approval.
Okay, thank you. Are there any citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we have one, Kim Fodge.
I have a question more than a comment. Are there going to be any additional rate increases for the water? Okay, there is going to be additional rate increases for the water and irrigation?
There is nothing on the agenda for it, but I believe there will be one brought to this board.
Okay, because when you approved
That's my opinion.
the last increase, I thought there was a comment or some sort of a decision was made that you weren't, if you approved this change, that there wasn't going to be any increases in the water. And
I think what we talked about was related to the meters and the evaluation of the third party to come in and look at our meters. And I think we talked about no increase for the remainder of the year of 2024.
And my comment was, we need to wait. The board, I won't be a part of it, but the board needs to wait and get into 2025 for some period of time to make sure they understand the impact of the rate increases already in effect. Because I think the rate increase will produce more revenue than was projected. And if it does, it will decrease the need for a future rate increase, as will this credit card item we just passed.
I completely agree with that. So I hope that the board or whoever wants to bring this to the board again for another rate increase will not do that, because we've already got the potential sewer increase. That's going to happen. We've already been hit with the water increase. It's the cost of living to be in Fort Smith is getting on up there, and it's not a friendly environment. So I think the board needs to be cautious. Let's see what these rate increases do before we start talking about any additional rate increases. I think the citizens would appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments.
I won't be voting for one, I'll say that.
Okay. Are there any more citizens' comments, Madam Clerk?
No, that's all.
Need a motion to adopt the ordinance and resolution?
So moved. 16A and B, correct?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'll
batch those.
second 16A and B.
16A and B, we can batch those. Okay. Any other board comments? Director Settle.
Lance, is this work that's done or work to be done?
There is a lot of this is work that is done. Some is there if the board wishes to have anything else done before the end of the year. If that is not used, we will not be billed. And again, once we terminate that contract it'll be in January after the billings come out. Any funds that are left in this contract will be put back into the unobligated funds.
Thank you.
Director Levon Moore.
Well, and I would like to add, now that we have the study that basically makes sure that the costs are allocated fairly between all the entities, you can do percentage increases in the future without another rate study. This rate study should hold us for 5 years.
Okay.
If we use percentage increases.
Okay. Any other comments? Not, please call the roll.
Directors Morton,
Yes.
George Katsavis?
No.
Christina Katsavis?
No.
Settle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes. Yes.
Rigo?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Motion passes with 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
17.
Thank you, Mayor. 17th item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the 2024 operating budget and authorizing the appropriation of funds from the unobligated general fund balance for spay and neuter vouchers. And our communications manager, Josh Bufink, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gefkin. Mayor and directors, before you tonight is another appropriation for $35,000 for the spay and neuter voucher program. On January 18th, the City of Fort Smith adopted a resolution establishing this voucher system for the spaying and neutering of dogs and cats to qualified residents. As you know, since its inception, this program has been wildly successful, and since February we have sterilized approximately 2,200 dogs and cats, so many of which have also received rabies vaccinations and microchips. So currently 3 local clinics are actively participating in the program, and in order to maintain this vital service to our community, we're requesting an additional $35,000. This request does represent the second appropriation, and the first request was done in October for $50,000. So I'll stand for questions.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments?
None indicating.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. This time, board comments. Director Neil Martin.
I didn't see it when we did our budget, but what's the funding allocation for 25?
I believe it's still 150, and I really think that, this is just my personal opinion, I think closer to 250 would be more accurate.
Accurate in the sense to meet the need.
To meet the need in the community. So this would put us at around $235,000, exactly $235,000.
For this year?
For this year.
Yeah, yeah.
And we started in February.
You say
so
another 250 next year. $500,000.
$250,000, yeah. Oh, sorry, in addition.
$500,000 total.
Yeah.
So we would be at 5,000 animals, 4,500 to 5,000 animals sterilized.
Yes.
At some point, we've got to stop. We've got to stop it. There's got to be an end point to this. I don't know if I see an end point.
Yeah.
I think we give it one more year.
Director Christina Casares.
You know, we pay for these animals one way or another. So are we seeing any sort of cost reduction in, you know, the police having to go out and pick them up, or we have to house them, or, you know, we should be seeing a reduction somewhere to offset the cost, right?
That's a good question for the police department. I'm unaware of reduction in animal services
So
going
how many animals have we spayed or neutered?
Over 2,200. As of today, 2,257.
And so each animal is capable of producing like how many puppies or kittens?
Anywhere from 2 to 12.
Yeah.
Well, and that's per litter. I mean, so, and, you know, multiple litters. I mean, 20 to 40 is not an unreasonable estimate. So 5,000 in 2 years would be 200,000 animals not born that we won't have to catch and take care of. So, I mean, it's a good program, but my understanding is from all the work that was done in 2019 and 20 is it takes 3 to 4 years for the spay and neuter program to really begin to show a dramatic
I
impact.
will say when I first started, I got a lot of emails from people saying there's packs of dogs in my neighborhood. There's, I don't get those anymore. So I'm wondering, is this helping with some of that?
Anecdotally, I would say yes, but I don't have any hard data to back that up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Director Rigo?
I was just going to make mention, like Director Morton did, that, obviously this is something that'll take at least a handful of years, but, I would not expect this level of cost to be associated with it on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. There are no further comments. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors George Katsavas?
Yes.
Christina Katsavas?
Yes.
Settle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Rigo?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Morton?
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item 18.
Thank you, Mayor. 18th item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the 2024 operating budget and authorizing the appropriation of funds from the unobligated general fund balance for the Runway 826 Back 14 aircraft arresting system, and our CFO, Andy Richards, will speak to this and answer any questions, as will I if needed.
I don't know if I need to say a whole lot about it, but we talked about this or mentioned it at the budget hearing, and it was brought up earlier tonight. But so we're asking for an appropriation of $3.8 million roughly. We've already got some money appropriated that ran over from the Runway extension project. You appropriated that money like in January of 24, and as we entered this agreement, that obligation ended. We got $5 million back from the airport that we had contributed earlier on the Runway extension, and part of the agreement was to support the end of this project with the BOC arresting system. So we're asking to add this into addition to the 24 amended budget.
Okay. Thank you. Citizens' comments, Madam Clerk.
None indicating.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Director's comments at this time. Director Levon Moore.
Well, this is just a comment that we're, the city, if you count the airport commission, which for all purposes you can imagine the airport commission is part of the city airport entity, we're $9 million in on the F-35 program. We need to get some grants coming back this way that help us pay for some of this. We need to get some grants.
We spent we got the $5 million back.
No, well, I know, but we got it back from the airport commission.
And that's,
but I'm saying that if you could put the airport commission and the city together, which the financial statements of the airport commission are included in the combined financial statements of the city entity under generally accepted accounting principles. So as two parties, we're $9 million in. We need some grants coming back this way from the government.
We've received the Military Infrastructure Resiliency Grant for the first part of it, and that's what we'll be bringing that contract to the board to perform that work that will then identify the areas, including water and sewer, where we need to get those grants.
That's good information to know, and I'm happy to hear that. I hope we get $20 million.
We will
or $40 million, and we deserve about 25 from the state. So.
Well, and speaking of the state, we provide water out to Franklin and Sebastian County, which is the water provider for Charleston. And so if the water for the new prison, if it is built there, does come from Franklin Sebastian, then we must have the new 48-inch water transmission line. And so we will need to make that clear to the state in order to make sure that sufficient water exists.
Now,
Director Neil Martin.
Now, just this 3.8, I need to remember what we talked about earlier. This is not in the projected 2024 budget that we passed earlier.
Correct.
Okay, so it's another 3.8 million? Okay. We have, just for everybody, we have these dollars. This is a good use of spending reserve, but I will remind the board, this is going to take us to a deficit of $15 million in the general fund, which we've got the money because we have the reserves, but as all the things that I talked about earlier regarding the budget and trying to hold off on the budget, these come into play if we do reallocations in 25. So just want to make sure I'm a yes on this. I just want to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page.
Thank you. There are no further comments. Please call the roll.
Directors Christina Getsavis,
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
19.
Thank you, Mayor. 19th item on this evening's agenda is an ordinance amending the 2024 operating budget and authorizing the appropriation of funds from the unobligated general fund budget for the general election runoff that is completing this evening. And I believe our City Clerk, Sherry Guard, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Yes, all of this, during the 2025 operating budget process, each department is tasked with reviewing their 2024 budgets. When we met with admin and the finance department, when we reviewed the budget, it was we did not know if there would be a runoff election. It was determined that we would go ahead and remove those funds. Okay, and then if we needed it, we would come back for an appropriation. Now, it was removed, the $20,000 for the runoff, so this is merely to get that back into the city clerk's budget.
Okay.
It was in item 8 that amended the 2024, and so this merely gets it back into the city clerk's budget.
Okay. Thank you for your explanation. Any citizens' comments?
None indicating.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any other board comments? Please call the roll.
Director Settle,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Morton,
Yes.
George Getsavis.
Yes.
Christina Getsavis.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Item 20.
Thank you, Mayor. The 20th item on this evening's agenda is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Aqualaw PLC for legal assistance with the consent decree-related matters. And Lance McAvoy, Director of Water Utilities, will speak to this and answer any questions.
Apologize it took so long to get here. This is a standard annual agreement that we have before you to utilize Aqualaw for our consent decree legal. Their rates, well, basically year to date, and this goes through the end of September, we've spent $46,000 this year on them. Aqualaw was the only consent decree legal firm that submitted an SOQ for us to consider. Their rates did go up 3.4% from 24 to 25, but I would like to point out that in 2020, 2021, and 2022, their rates were the same. It's only the last 2 years that we've seen a modest increase. We also looked at Aqualaw's qualifications. Current consent decrees that they're working on include Kansas City, Missouri, South Bend, Indiana, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Evansville, Indiana, and DC Water, which is a very large organization. There is a resolution attached, and staff recommends that you pass it, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any citizens' comments on this item, ma'am?
None indicating.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So move.
Need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Okay. Seeing none, call the roll.
Directors Martin,
Yes.
Rego.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
No.
Settle.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. This time we'll go to the consent agenda. Mr. Gifkin.
Thank you, Mayor. There are only 2 items on this evening's consent agenda. Item 21A is a resolution approving a contract with Daly & Woods PLLC for general legal services. And item 21B is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the City of Fort Smith, Arkansas, the Town of Chester, Arkansas, and the City of Mountainburg, Arkansas, from the Utilities Department.
Okay, thank you. Any item to be pulled by the board?
I've got a question on A.
Okay, question on A. Anything else? Okay.
Carlos Beasy. Did anybody else besides Daly Woods put in for this?
Jeff can answer that.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I may, we do have a resident to address the board. Joey McCutcheon on 21A.
Okay. Thank you. This time we'll entertain a motion to adopt all consent decree items.
A and B.
Yes, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So moved.
Need a second, please.
Second.
Okay. This time we'll entertain any board comments. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Directors Rego.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
George Katsavas.
Yes.
Christina Katsavas.
Yes.
Settle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
It's approved, 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you for your work. At this time, we'll go to the officials forum. A couple of items. Keep in prayer the Tidwell family. We lost an icon in our community, and she will be sorely missed. Also, I'd like to recognize one of our own, Ms. Brittany Bottoms, has been awarded her certified municipal clerk's credentials. So, congratulations, Brittany. This time, Director Rego, you recognize.
Nothing for me, sir.
Director Good.
Nothing, sir.
Director Levon Morton.
Okay, first, I want to give credit to our newspapers for being here through these long meetings, and the media. The Times Record has started covering Fort Smith City matters again, and you know, I personally appreciate that. I subscribe to both the Times Record and the Democrat Gazette, and so I like to see those stories. And Democrat Gazette has been a faithful attender for years, and has a whole River Valley section every Sunday in the newspaper, and they write stories about the city. And you can get good information about the city there. And also, the Talk Business and Politics writes about the city basically every day that there's something important. And you can subscribe to that on the internet and get the report in your inbox every day. But I know I appreciate the media coverage. I think it's important for citizens to see that. And I'm really happy that the Times Record is back doing that again. And I hope we can keep both those newspapers going, because I would not know what to think about a day when we had no newspaper reporting at all in the city. I think that would be terrible. Second thing I'm going to talk about just briefly is for the people in the audience and the people watching on television and the people who maybe watch this video. This is a time of year when scams are rampant. And I would say if you get a phone call from anybody, the IRS, any supposed government agency, the police department of any city, the sheriff's department of any county, and they say you've done something and you have to pay some money right away, don't do it. Don't do it. Call and I apologize to Chief Baker, call the Fort Smith Police Department and ask them if they think that it's legitimate, because there is a 95% chance it's not. No government agency will ever call you on the phone. They will either knock on your door or they will send you a letter, and that goes to the IRS and everything. I've handled those calls myself for friends who were concerned because the message was left on their phone about they were going to be arrested at the airport. because they owed the IRS money or they filed a false tax return, some nonsense like that. None of that's ever true. They don't have a relative in jail somewhere. So don't fall for those things. Just be mindful. This is the time of the year when they're really serious, and the jury duty one is a big scam where you get served, you get a call saying you missed your jury duty and you owe $2,500. So just bear that in mind. Final thing is, I make a motion to be placed on the December 17th agenda to go ahead and pass a 3.5% rate increase for sewer effective June 1st of 2025. What we heard about the ratios and what you see in the budget for the 25 year for utilities is really bad. A 3.5% rate increase is about 30 cents per CCF, which is a small amount. You know, if you use 30 CCF, which is a lot, it's about 20,000 gallons of water. 30 CCFs would be about $9 a month. So it's not very much money, but it is getting it started. I want to put 25 through 30 on the agenda to be voted on, and that is something that, we'll have a call with Justice Department a week from today that we're all allowed to sit on, not talk about, not comment, not ask questions, just listen. And we will know how they feel. But I'd like to be able to say it's on the agenda and that we are considering it. And I think that would be a step forward. And it does comply with the bond agreement that we have with or the sales tax agreement we have with the citizens. 3.5%, June 1, 25 through December 31, 2030.
If I may, and Lance can clarify probably, for sewer rate increases, there is a process that you have to go through. It takes 2 regular meetings in order to complete that for a sewer rate increase. Lance, you want to clarify?
So under state law, to raise sewer rates, we have to have a resolution to basically post a notification of a public meeting that has to be put out 10 days prior to the public meeting date. And in that, we basically, at that point in time, have to have the ordinance ready to do that. Due to the fact that the board has to pass the resolution to have the public meeting and then have the public meeting to pass the ordinance, it is physically impossible to do it by the 17th. Because we would have, even if we did a special meeting, the time frame, and I believe Sherry can actually comment on getting stuff published in the paper, and those deadlines just cannot be met.
But the public hearing can be called.
We can call the public hearing on the 17th so that in January that could occur.
Well, I wish I'd been informed of that before. I would have done this before now. I think it's terrible that we're not able to do this because I don't know if the board will actually do anything, no matter what the Justice Department says. But we've had so much trouble passing rate increases. We're going to have 2 years in a row we're going to fail bond covenants, and based on what we've got on the books right now, we will fail. What Andy Richards said, we will fail in 25. And what's the word? What's the word the lawyer used? Receivership.
I disagree with that.
But I think
you disagree with what, Director Martin?
That we're going to fail the bond covenant.
Well, I hope you're right.
Let's let Director Levon, and then we'll pick up with Director Neil Martin.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Director Neil Martin.
Well, I mean, I'm glad these things are in place because we're coming into Christmas. It's not a time that folks are being aware of this. Let's move it to 25. Let's let the new board take up these matters where appropriate and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have any comments? Director Settle.
We told the public that we would pass, if you pass the sales tax, first 3 years would be 0 and no more than 3.5% rate increase from year 4 to year 8. And that's what you're proposing.
Yes.
So I think if we show the DOJ and the EPA that's what we're doing, I think it could go a long way for a better negotiation ploy and our options there. So if you want to start the process in January, December, I don't want to wait till April. I think we got to show, if we're negotiating with them right now, which we're doing, and we want to, and they want to negotiate in good faith, I think we need to start the process sooner than later, and let's get this ball rolling, so by the end of January, it's all done.
So what would you propose we do?
Start the public hearing next week, or 2 weeks.
Okay. So I make a motion that we go ahead and establish a time for the public hearing, so.
If I'm mistaken, there's 2 meetings, correct? This is over 2 meetings, correct?
It needs to be done at a proper business meeting.
Yes.
So-
Okay,
Yes,
so
two-
I withdraw my comment, so, and it's not a good time, I mean, if you can't just do it in one meeting, then the last half of December is not a good time to do a lot of
we'll
business. So
start
I'd
in
just say,
January then.
put the whole thing off till
We'll start in
January.
then, okay.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on, let me take a moment to recognize fellow mayor from Chester, Miss Lacey Hendricks. You still here? Hi. Thanks for being here and enjoying one of our meetings. This time, Director George Casavage.
I have nothing.
Okay, Director Christina Casavage.
I have a few things. I want to extend my condolences to the Carney family. Miss Marguerite Carney passed away at 106 years old last week. I don't know if she was Fort Smith's oldest resident, but she had to be close. She lived a, really brave, really good life, and 106, I think that's a pretty good run. So I had the opportunity last night to go to her viewing and be with her family, and then from there I went to Creekmore and had the opportunity to serve cocoa and cookies to the community, and that was really, really impactful for me. Just to see those children and how delighted they were, and it was, it was a good reminder that life comes in and life goes out, and how lucky we are to be here with the time we have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Director Settle?
Nothing, Mayor.
Director Neil Martin?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Okay.
No, sir.
District Administrator?
No, sir.
No comment, okay. At this time, if you don't mind, we're going to go into executive session and convene specifically to identify the following. We're going to discuss the terms of employment for the city administrator for 2025. And then we should be finished with that. So let us adjourn to a special session, executive session, I'm sorry. we're gonna reconvene. And at this point, there was no action taken. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Motion to adjourn. So
All in favor? Aye. All right.